Good morning and welcome back to the Explicit Measures podcast with Tommy and Mike. Welcome back, everyone. Happy to have you back.
Hello. Happy Thursday, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing well. And it feels like, I can't believe this has just been a crazy week. I'm just getting back from the Fabric conference in Vienna. Lots of news and announcements. I am overwhelmed with all the new toys we get to play with, features. There's just so much stuff going on. And it's also kind of interesting and fun seeing the community gravitate to which features they're liking or they're reacting to a little bit here right now. So which has been really fun. I'm totally enjoying that. All right, Tommy, today's topic is going to be a Microsoft Fabric feature pyramid. I think I said that right. I didn't stumble on my words there. This was a creation out of Tommy's mind. So if you love this episode, it was from Tommy. If you hate this episode, it was from Tommy. So
way to put it right off the bat. So.
I think it's going to be a good episode. I'm actually excited about this one. I hope I can come up with good things that we can talk about today. I don't think we're going to get as far as you think we will, but go ahead, Tommy. What is this? Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing today?
I'm excited about this. So we'll dive into it too. But the idea simply is this: there's levels to a pyramid, level 1, level 2, level 3, and what's most essential for us. And we are taking the gamut of features from DAX to semantic models to bookmarks to drill through to pipelines. What is most essential, most important to us? What do we love the most? So it's a feature pyramid. Level 1 is the pinnacle because there's only one. Obviously, if you look at a pyramid, then there's 2 supporting that, and so forth and so forth. So we're basically ranking all these features, but again, in a shape of a pyramid. So really, I can't wait to get into this. I think we're going to have fun with this.
All right, I agree. That's going to be our main topic today. But before we get to the main topic, we have a number of news items. Again, coming out of Vienna, there's still a lot of news coming out. There's blogs still being posted on the Microsoft blog. Things were announced, and now the blogs are kind of like Microsoft team has been able to get back to the office and like finish the blog and complete the announcement and get everything else. So we're seeing a lot of new posts, I guess, coming out here recently. So Tommy, give us our first one.
Yeah, we have a lot to run through, Mike. So the first one is something called calendar-based time intelligence in Power BI. This was on the Power BI blog, which we don't see as many updates.
Yep.
A lot of you may be thinking, Tommy, Mike, we have time intelligence. It's called DAX and it's called a calendar or having a date table. But this is a different approach. It's not just a date table, and it's simply allowing to signify and define what columns represent specific time attributes. Again, something that was available in Power BI. Doesn't sound new, but however, this works with any type of calendar. Before, we were kind of stuck with your normal Gregorian calendar. And also works with 13 months, lunar, more, and there's no assumptions. Power BI doesn't impose any structural rules. It can be as custom as you need. Sparse dates are supported. So continuous dates, which were always required, are now recommended. So take that as you will. Weekly based calculations like total week to date is actually now a function. And again, some performance gains as well. It looks very similar to the feature. There's not a ton here. There's some documentation, but there's some validation rules. And there's some more documentation as well. Also works with tindle, which we'll get into as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this mapping. It's a lot more integrated than the feature before. It was like, hey, what calendar is your date table? What column's the date? There's a lot more to this. So hopefully making date and especially time intelligence, which we all do, easier.
So in the end of the day, Tommy, have you ever worked on a project that had a 445 or 545 or whatever the heck numbers they make up these days? Have you worked on one of those projects?
Dude, I've worked on those in the fiscal year ones, which are a pain, and those are the ones you go, okay, I'm gonna do it because they asked me, but I don't want to.
What are we doing? Okay, so there's also this kind of concept. I mean, again, let me kind of jump into this one. This all looks like a lot of these calendars are being built in DAX, right? So this is a DAX view of a calendar, right? So you can do different calendar types. You can pick the ones that you want to design. This is one of these areas that I'm going to be like, I'm just going to wait till Marco Russo tells me the ones I need to go use, and I'm just going to let him build all of it, and then I'm just going to go pick the one that I need. I don't want to spend a lot of time, effort learning this stuff, but the fact that it's here, this makes it way more easy for us to work with these kind of oddball calendar things. And it always goes back to like, when you're looking at a business, right? You want these really comparable year over year things, and you're trying to get the right structure of a calendar, and months don't always align. Random thought, Tommy. This is totally random. I had heard at one point that if you made 13 months, every month would have like what, 27 days, 28 days?
Okay. That
What?
would be
That'd be like deal. Like just have 13 months and then everything like is nice and easy and it all fits together very well. Anyway,
and compared to having days that are like 31 days and then 28
yes,
days
and then
and
28
30
days and like yes, exactly. All these different dates. Like we have 12 months for whatever reason. Had they just done 13 months, it would have been like a nice
I don't know
even
if
every
that would
month has
bother
the same
me.
amount of right? Does that boggle your mind? It boggles my mind a little bit.
No, I don't know if it would bother me. I don't think it bothers me now. I don't think I ever looked like, oh my gosh, September. I thought it was 31. Now it's 30. My whole week's off kind of thing. So I see what you're saying, but I don't think it's been too much of a pain point in my life.
I think you just got used to it. But I think there's like there's potentially a better way. Anyways, this is one of these things that's like this. There's a better way. We didn't even know it existed. You just kind of dealt with it. I think this is for me. One of the things that I do in designs for models, date calendars are not too egregiously large or extremely big. I mean, maybe they are a little bit, but
shouldn't be.
Me personally. So let's think about like the model design, right? When you build calendars in things, you can build calendars with your back end, right? So you can build it in your Lakehouse, you can build it in your Power Query M, you can build tables in upstream. And then when you get to the semantic model, you can relate those date tables to other columns and things that are inside the model. Kind of the opinion, like the date calendar, yes, it doesn't compress as well because it's a date calendar and it's written in DAX. Maybe there's a little bit more performance you get out of it. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't mind the date calendar just being written in DAX.
I do. I actually have a problem with that for whatever. I mean, not a problem. It's a problem actually, because if you with what we have available to us today, I would rather everyone use the same date calendar. And yes, they're more or less the same continuous dates. You probably have start of month, but it's just like one of those things you want to give to the organization, and probably some custom things that you have as well for your organization. So it's fine for ad hoc, but if I'm building reports out there,
like how many people in your organization are building like, I mean, okay, look, if you're building like a weird calendar, like a 445 or 54 something, right? Maybe, but like at the end of the day, when you're doing reporting, calendars are pretty known quantities.
Yeah.
I don't really care to do. I mean, I don't really care to do a whole lot with that. And I will say for beginner users, turning on auto date time intelligence is super helpful.
No,
and if those,
what? No.
For beginner users, it makes a bunch of extra junk calendars in the model, which is not good. But like,
Mike,
I will argue the feature is good in the fact that auto date time calendars is nice to work with. Me personally, I like having a date calendar that just has quarter, year, month, day information in it. I like that. I think that's helpful. What I don't like is when you turn on auto date time calendar, it makes like a million of them and they're all over the place and your model can get really large. And if you have a date that's incontinuous, or it has like this 99999 date or 1900 date, like your date calendar blows up and it causes other problems. So the intent, what I'm trying to say is the intent of the calendar is the right intent. How it got implemented and how all the date calendars have to be like a consistent list of dates is not a good idea. And that's why you push more towards like, just build the date calendar, do it somewhere else. I like building it in DAX. I think that seems like a fair compromise. I don't like to use auto date time, but like the concept of wherever there's a date column and you could just easily pick the parsing of that date field is nice.
The problem I have with the auto date time, outside of the bloat that it provides to your model, is when you add it to a visual. I hate how it looks in the visual because it just shows you every month, but it's not the continuous dates. So it shows you 2016, 2015, or 2015, 2016. You drill down, you want to see the month, January, February, March, April. It doesn't show you like 1/1/2018 or 1/1/2025. And then the next month, year. It's month or quarter. I hate that view so much that doesn't do anything for anyone. So it's the visual side of it that I have the problem with.
So you err on the side of making additional in your date calendar. You have like start of month type dates in there.
Yeah.
That way you can format it the way you want and put it in
The
correctly.
ability to create a date table should be available to any Power BI user, just like you give a mouse to someone on their first day of work in Mints. It just should be on their desk when they get there. It's too easy to do. It's a simple gesture, and it just should be part of it. If I start a new job, I have a date calendar and I have a card saying "Welcome to the company." It should be one and the same.
That's interesting, Tom, because I didn't really think about the implications of using those auto date times on the like you can get around it a different couple ways, but you got to be smart about how you handle those things. Again, back to your point, Tommy, like the issue really isn't like the auto date time. The issue is you can't have more enhanced information about multiple columns. Like I can't have the same column formatted 3 different ways in the same visual.
Is an auto date.
It's got to be a new column inside the date calendar. Yeah, I can see your dates are just weird. I would agree with you. It adds bloat where it doesn't necessarily need to add bloat to the model. It feels like this should be a solution that can be solved slightly differently. Anyways,
I think we've said enough about dates, but yeah,
I agree. Regardless, at the end of the day, defining different calendars I think are useful. I do think this, from what I understand, is this is defining things. Again, I'll have to go to the feature a bit more. So again, don't quote me on this one. But using on this new item, this enhanced DAX date calendar intelligence, there is some more work to be done in DAX to make these calendars work, I think. So
100%.
It'll be interesting. I'll see where it goes. I like the idea of it. Marco Russo seems to be very excited about it. I'm okay with it.
All right. So let's touch on the last 2 here. So one, I'm just going to touch on, I love that this is something that they wrote about, something they're doing. The blog article title, Unlocking LLM, Large Language Model, Powered Through Data Agent from Your Mirror Databases, which basically what we're doing here is rather than I can only use things in my lakehouse, things I've generated in Fabric, I can use any database and Azure, Oracle, Snowflake, SQL Server, Databricks Catalog, SQL database, Cosmos, and I can mirror those databases like I can now, but I can use that with data agents. So my data is coming from somewhere else. I can use that with the data agent. This is just, Mike, again, we've talked about LLMs, we've talked about data agents, and again, they run on data. The reason why, if it's not working for your company right now, is because your data, and you either don't have enough or it's not structured the right way. So give me your data, give the data to the agent, and let's feed it, and so we can tune it. So this is a very important feature.
So this feature that just came out, I was just yesterday. For those of you who are not members, if you want to become a member, we'd love you to become a member of the YouTube channel here as well. We just did a full building a data agent online yesterday. Yeah. We did a whole how to build the agent, how to create one, how to deploy it, how to consume it. So we have a whole hour-long session around building the data agents and creating one and all the UI that goes along with this. So this is just adding a lot more data sources. I believe the original data sources were you could use a lakehouse, you could use a semantic model, and you could use Kusto. Those were the initial 3 sources. And now with this, you get a whole bunch of other stuff, everything mirrored, all the mirrored things you can go get, which is extremely powerful here as well.
1,000%. So happy to see that. And Mike, let's end on pretty good one. We're going to, I don't know if you have your sound available, but tindle view is now. You gotta wait for me to fit it. Just tindle. Tindle gets the react. Okay. Mike loves tindle so much. Just anyone who says tindle, we hear it. So exactly. Well, let's get 2 of them because tindle view is now generally available.
Yes, this is definitely a very worthy here. Tindle has changed how I build things. Honestly, I was just going through a model the other day, having to write some documentation on it. Way faster than just going right to the tindle, dragging the tables I wanted. And within 30 minutes, I did something that would have normally taken me longer than that, an hour, maybe more, just to write in some comments, adjust some things, format some stuff. Much, much better. Really liked it.
And there's an interesting concept here, Mike. I don't know how much you dive into the article, but one of the things they talked about is Power BI Desktop is now hardened to support opening and editing any semantic model, which for me, I haven't heard the word hardened before in Power BI Desktop. So Good thing
Not in a
Rui,
very
because
long time.
not a long time. So Rui, which obviously understood that most people will know what that means. What does it actually mean for Power BI desktop? And again, it's not just tindle, it's desktop to be hardened. And it simply means tools like Power BI desktop no longer assume that they are the only tools editing a semantic model. So they now support collaborative editing scenarios with external tools or code file editor AI. So this is interesting, Mike, that we're taking the concept, and what Tindle has done is not just a new coding language for Power BI desktop, but it's also changed the way that Power BI behaves with the semantic model.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're introducing a bit of philosophy here, but it's simply, again, before Power BI supported external tools, but it still assumed and it still worked and behaved as if it was the primary source for any semantic model. Now, Power BI desktop is kind of treating any semantic model that you load that it could have come from anywhere. For example, VS Code. I could generate theoretically my entire semantic model in VS Code using an agent or copy and pasting some files and getting everything set up that way. So when Power BI desktop opens, right, it's not like, hey, this is not from desktop before. This is not a binary file that we've done something to make it look nice. It's expecting or assumes that it can come from other sources. So you talk about the developer role here, and I mean, this is exactly on point, completely on point with what you talked about around Power BI is becoming more of a developer tool.
The other two things that I think I want to note here, to your point, Tommy, around the hardening of desktop, why this is so important. The last two items in the list here I think are very important here. It says, beyond these capabilities, the hardening also unlocks two major Power BI features. The ability to download an XMLA altered semantic model as a PBIX file. Again, now that there's a consistent standard across all these files, you don't need to download the data anymore. You can download just like the PBIP version bundled as a PBIX file. So what I think you're going to start seeing here is the PBIX standard version of a single file that represents a model, and a report will now just be under the hood only the format of the PBIP format, which is incredibly important. So that's another thing that's really useful, right? If you're using third-party tools to manipulate things in PowerBI.com, notebooks, changing things, like now there's no blockers now.
Right.
So this is just unblocking you for a lot of other pro tooling that can help you build and edit things, which I think is extremely useful here.
So
now,
that's
what I want to point out.
No, so I was going to ask you a question. Now that this is generally available, and this is what I always like to do with you, Mike, the scenario of, since this is now GA, this is now part of the lexicon, is as common as DAX. When would you expect you're hiring someone, you work at a company, they're going to be a data analyst, they say they're specialists in Power BI, should they know Tindle?
Yes.
Okay.
This is maybe on my pyramid somewhere. Just saying.
Okay.
This is something that I think is going to be very useful for people just in general, just to make sure they know how it works. Again, there's this idea of like, just build it so it works. And then there's this idea of optimizing and getting faster and more efficient on things. To me, Tindle is one of these optimization pieces, right? You know how to build a semantic model on desktop, fine. When you're building smaller models or going quickly, not a big deal. When you're managing large amount of models or models that have to be broken apart, excuse me, it becomes much more challenging. And so I think as you become more of a professional developer around these experiences, you don't want to have clicky buttons all the time. It slows you down. And I think there's something coming here, Tommy, that I don't think we all see it yet. And I'm going to make another call here. Just like I did when I said, remember how in episode one? Yes.
Man, we are going to ride that to the sunset.
I'm going to ride that forever.
Yeah, goodness.
That was like vision like no other. Like I dialed it.
You were like someone who got 3 numbers right on the lotto. It was like, remember that one time on the lotto?
Or the one time I won the lottery? Yeah.
25 years ago? Yeah.
4 years ago? Yeah, that was pretty good. Not bad. So I will say this. I think another monumental shift in how things are going to be built here, and this is not just Power BI. This is monumental shift across everything. The adventation or the invention of the MCP. I think the MCP is talking model context protocol. It's a term people are starting to use. Models are getting so much better at writing code. Was working with my developers this last week, and my developers are saying, "Look, we can't write code without We can write code without a copilot or something, but we're so much faster now. Like things that used to take weeks are taking days now. Like
That's crazy. Isn't that awesome?
it's awesome, but it also means there's a level of knowledge of like I need to be able to understand the infrastructure very intently. Like what libraries am I using? How do I want the code to be written? Like what are the standards I need? So there's a lot more that you have to do, like more instructions you have to give the AI to make sure that it does exactly what you want, give it boundaries. But this whole concept of the MCP, I think, is going to be really interesting here. And this is going to change how we build things. It's going to change how we communicate with computers in general. It's going to substantially change what we do. And so, again, going back to Javin's paradox again, right? When you make things very easy to build, create, establish, you're just going to get a lot more of them, right? And so I think the more Microsoft pushes into, hey, MCP, make me a Gregorian calendar, or hey, MCP, make me a 445 for my, just build it, and knows what we're talking about and can build all the DAX for you automatically. When I was doing the data agents, Microsoft is investing in natural language to SQL, natural language to KQL, natural language to DAX. And as long as there was data inside the model, it was doing a pretty decent job of writing some DAX and SQL. That was on our build a data agent yesterday that we did. Super impactful. I think it's going to be useful. So I think you're going to continue to see investment in this. Instead of programming things with like DAX and SQL code, you're going to start talking to things and describing what you want, and it'll just spit out code that you can review and then use it. So I think this is going to be another major game changer here, and we're going to start seeing a lot of tooling or tools show up where you're going to communicate to it, and it's going to just build stuff that you think it thinks you need.
Not only do I agree with you 110%, but I don't think that's outlandish at all what you're saying. I think that's
just at the start of this. This is just the start.
So, no, I think this is a lot easier win than your episode 1 that you got so perfectly. I think you're right on point. So love to see it. So it takes time to get into it, Mike. I feel like a school kid on their first or last day of school, depending on how you did on school. So
excellent.
Guess which one me? It was the last day. So
last day. I was probably a last day school person as well.
So we're gonna do, Mike, this thing called the feature pyramid. And if you're listening, follow along. Again, the simple concept here, you look at a pyramid, there are levels to it. And we can only pick so many items. And again, we're taking the gamut, any feature in Fabric or Power BI, and what's essential, the most essential to us. Level 1, the most important thing, but there's only one feature. It's the top of the pyramid. So this is the echelon of everything. Level 2, we have 2 features. They are, in a sense, the second most out of what we can pick. The pyramid continues to go down. Again, even if something's level 5 or level 4, doesn't mean it's not important, because obviously still we're picking from high up. But this is really from you and me, Mike, and this is our opinion, right? This is our way of looking at the Fabric and Power BI world on what's most essential. You can't take this away from us. And again, we're going to start at the top of the pyramid. Mike, do you have any questions about the pyramid and this idea before we begin?
I think I'm pretty good. I'm pretty sure our pyramids are going to be way different, and we're going to have a lot of arguments and friction about what you're picking on which level of what things here. But I think this will be interesting to see where we land on what features you're finding are the most important features and how we get through these things.
So do you want to start off? Do you want to kick it off? How do you want to do this? And then we'll jump from there.
I'll go first. I'll just lob one up here at the beginning.
This is level 1. This is number 1. This is
the most important thing you must know. Right here. This is the clincher. Listen, coming close. We're going to talk about the most important thing that you must understand around Fabric Power BI. I'm going to lean on, it's going to be the semantic model.
Okay.
I think that is by far the most important thing that you need to understand, get your head around, understand how it works. And I'll give you some reasoning here. I'll give you just kind of my reasoning. I've been hearing some language around, especially from Databricks, and Databricks, boo on you. I like you, Databricks, but like you're definitely, I think, throwing some misinformation in here that I do not agree with. The Databricks is basically saying, well, you don't really need to throw your AI at the semantic model. You need to throw your AI at like tables. Go throw your AI at tables and things. I'm like, okay, great. I was just doing a data agents experience, and I had a whole bunch of lakehouse tables. The AI had no clue on how to do the joins between different columns. So in the data agent, I had to go in and describe this table is related to that column. This column, these two columns are related. So that way, when it needed to build a join between two things in SQL, it understood the relationships between the tables. It understood how to join these things. So when I look at the semantic model, it is becoming the linchpin for everything you want to build, right? You have this whole world of data engineering. You have lake houses, you have Power Query, you have data flows, you have data flows Gen 2, you have the warehouse, like all this data engineering stuff. Everything you do on that side of the world, data engineering world, it all gets shaped and designed and consistently it gets conformed into the thing that is the semantic model. Like that is the way you serve the data, right? And in the semantic model, I capture the relationships between tables. I capture the calculations that I want with additional measures. I describe the columns and the names of the tables and where they came from. There's this whole world of like complex stuff that we do to shape data around to go from a transactional system to a reporting system to the semantic model. And then on the other side of the semantic model, we then again proliferate back out to a lot of tools, right? So the semantic model becomes the source of data for the agent, the Power BI report, the paginated report, the exploration. Like there's all these other tools on the other side of the semantic model that use that in-memory cache to build everything. So when I look at this world, I think of like there's all this data engineering world and there's all this reporting world. Both of those worlds have to exist, but they both have to one feeds the semantic model and the other consumes the semantic model. There's not much in between, in my opinion. So to me, when I step really far back and take a big picture at the ecosystem, one of the things Microsoft has done really, really well is make the semantic model very pivotal for most, if not all of your reporting you need in the organization. Now, let me just give a little bit of a caveat here. The caveat is there will be experts in your organization. There will be people who need to discover and sort through and make flat, really wide reports and export data. Fine. I understand that that's going to exist. I would rather teach them SQL or build something in the system. Here's some shortcuts to some tables. Here's a lakehouse. Go build what you want in Spark Notebooks. Like go do things. Like there's going to be some use cases where there's going to be like advanced users that are going to not need exactly the semantic model. But if you're talking about getting data out quickly, that's where it's at. And I think also the more we push into this MCP, AI, understanding what's going on, you're really going to want to push AI towards that, the model side of things, because it's just going to get better results initially. Now, the AI may get better and it may be better upstream into those raw tables as well, but you're still going to have to define all the relationships. So somewhat, regardless, at the end of the day, whether you're doing it in Databricks or in semantic models or in the Lakehouse or in Fabric, someone's got to define the relationships. Even if it's in the Unity catalog or it's in the semantic model, I don't really care what you do. I just don't love the fact that I have to have compute running in order just to run the SQL queries back to Databricks. I'd rather have a semantic model that's just on and I've already paid for it kind of thing. So I'm just going to pause right there. That's, I think, my number one for me is the semantic model.
No, there's no question here, Mike. I wanted to try to take a hot take here and choose something different, but all roads lead to the semantic model here. I think that's my level one as well, the top of the pyramid, because to your point, Mike, if you were to look at a map of America, the roads are the semantic model. It is your navigation system in Power BI and in Fabric. We're building data to support it. And this is why no matter what I could try to do, even from a hot take point of view, like a Skip Bayless, like just say something for the sake of saying it, I couldn't. Because the idea here, Mike, is simply that everything we do around data is to support the semantic model, or for the semantic model to support something else. So it is the roads. If you were to look at a map, those roads are the semantic model. It is what navigates and drives us, is how and why we build the tables that we do. Even what I wanted to choose as my level one, I couldn't, because the simpler this is, the simpler everything else is. It is our source of truth. And to your point, even if it was just reports, which it's not anymore, even if just the semantic model supported reporting, it still has to be number one. This is why most people are building lake houses. And at the end of the day, a lake house is going to support a semantic model in some capacity. You may use it for other applications, but I guarantee you it's going to get into a semantic model somehow. It is how a company is going to drive their information. It is going to be how they communicate information. If you cannot get a grasp on this and you do not have this solid and down solid, everything else is going to fail. So it has to be the top of the pyramid. I have no argument here. No matter how hard I try to choose something else, Mike, anyone who's working in data, anyone who's working in Microsoft's data platform, and again, this supports all those things, data engineering, to me, data science, you have to have a solid understanding. And actually, I think that's conservative. I think you need to be able to master the semantic model. It is bar none what drives us and what drives the data. So no, that I think there's no argument there, man.
And I've been doing semantic model work for since it came out, right? So I started at the very beginning, and there was a lot of aha moments along the way as I started building semantic models. And I think I've been doing Power BI since it came out, 2015. So we're now at 10 years, both you and I, Tommy, just noodling on models and working with them.
20 years experience here.
Yeah, wow, that's a waste of time. But between our 20 years of experience, I mean, a lot of knowledge around those pieces. And again, I keep going back down to I don't like writing really difficult DAX anymore. I like making better tables. I like making more tables. I like simplifying the data engineering side. So I do a lot more, man. All the phrases that I've heard Microsoft say, Matthew Roach's maxim, transform the data as far upstream as possible and as far downstream as necessary. Such a great point. I mean, I totally agree with this. So the point I'm trying to make here is the semantic model learning, you just need to get going. Just need to get into it. You need to start working with it. And what you'll find is you'll figure out some of the basic moments. You'll have some really big aha moments. And then what will happen is over time, you'll just become more comfortable with whatever that is. So the sooner you can be comfortable building semantic models and understanding them, the better or more effective I think you'll be as a developer of data, right?
This may be the smartest thing we've ever said. We got 20 years of Power BI Power BI experience, 10 years of MVP experience here, and we both came to the same conclusion. So I think that's a perfect way to start this off with level one. I'm going to jump into level two, Mike.
All right, you do level two, and then we'll see if we disagree.
So that means there are two features here. This is probably we're going to divert. I think one of them we're going to have the same. I think the other one we're going to differ. So again, level two features. My first one's going to be the DAX, and this is where I wanted to put as my level one, because if semantic model is the heartbeat, then the brains are DAX. Because at the end, I know you mentioned that you don't want to write a lot of complex DAX anymore. Nobody does. But there's scenarios, and what I've been able to achieve with DAX and the solutions, and be able to create the metrics possible, or create the solutions possible. It's not even just metrics at this point. It's what DAX can do. Provide the information in the way that users need to see it and stakeholders have need to see it via the DAX language. And the better I've gotten at it, and the more experience I've gotten, the more skill I've gotten, the methods that you can do. I mean, this is what everything runs on: metric sets, scorecards, and again, your semantic model. You're not going to have a successful semantic model if you don't have successful DAX, or you don't have DAX at all. So I had to put DAX as high as level two, just because of how important it is in what we do. And from a skill point of view, again, you can get away with your sums in a calculate with totally month to date, but what else can it do? And I've learned this from Greg Baldini, who's been doing DAX for years. I've asked him questions on things and how he's been able to solve problems.
The dude's way smarter than I am. I can't.
But
the things he thinks about his head is beyond me.
Yeah. What it can achieve, I would have never gotten to without some of those formulas and those functions, and to provide those questions. And yeah, there's end arounds and things you can do, but nothing on how dynamic DAX can be. The idea with filter context, the idea there in the evaluation context, and how that can achieve so many business problems is absolutely how to put DAX. And my second one, Mike, or unless you want to kind of pause and comment on that, I can just jump into feature two or the.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm going to pick DAX as my level 2. I think it's a good thing. There was an aha moment when I was learning DAX. The aha moment was, wow, I could build a bunch of SQL statements that aggregate data a lot of different ways, or I can define the aggregation sum of this column and then pick any dimension that I want. And just by dragging the different fields together, I could just basically rewrite SQL over and over and over again. Right. So, the aggregations are defined beforehand, and then I can then pick whatever dimensions I want, and the answers just come out correctly. There's that's oversimplification of what's going on there, but like that, the power of doing that is incredibly useful. However, I'm going to kind of just lump all that DAX stuff into like the semantic model at my number 1 level. Like I'm not going to really, because building semantic models is like too.
Totally. I see what you're saying. Yeah,
it's two opinions, right? It's like, how do you make the tables, and then how do you write the DAX on top of the semantic model? So to me, it's like the feature of understanding that experience. That's where you need to spend your time.
And so I totally see that.
I focus on that. That's why I'm not going to use DAX as my number 2.
Totally. And like I said, totally fine. I've seen people who are great at semantic models, terrible at DAX, and the other way around. So I had to separate them. And again, from a feature point of view, my second one, I looked at this as I was trying to go through this feature pyramid, Mike. I was trying to think about the core things that make data flow and make data work right now in the world that we live in. So this was an easy one for me, Mike. This was the Lakehouse. And I'm realizing that I'm starting my methodology, or I'm approaching problems, I'm approaching projects around the Lakehouse and how that's going to flow into semantic model. But I want to do everything in the Lakehouse first, because I've always, I don't know, maybe it's just like you like to clutter your garage, but to be able to store your data rather than it being too dynamic like it can be in the semantic model, because you're kind of at the whims of the data source. I can create a data source, which is what I think is so important. I've heard so many times from organizations I've worked with on, we have Azure Lakehouse and we have these things, but we can't control it, and it gets really hard because things get slow to load. But I can get things from Salesforce, which is a pain. Any CRM system, I can load this to a Lakehouse. I can mirror data, what I can do in a Lakehouse, and because it's an elevation in a sense of the semantic model, where again, I don't have to build a Lakehouse just for reporting. And I think this is the big game changer on what Lakehouse and really Fabric can do. So a Lakehouse and DAX are going to be my level 2, Mike. So I'm intrigued to see what you have to say about your second level of the pyramid.
What was your second one again? Just make sure I got that one. Okay. The reason I'm asking that question is because I think we're going to align very well on the Lakehouse thing. So I'm going to rearrange my 2 items here. My first one, I'm going to say, after talking with Brad and talking some things through, again, thinking through some, again, this has been one of the advantages of being on the podcast, is we can talk to Microsoft PMs that show up every month. So FYI, people who are just new to the podcast, right? We've been bringing in a lot of really top-notch, high-end people, and we're not talking about interviewing them. We come in and we talk about real features and things they build, and I've got a treat. December, I've got a really special PM coming. You're going to really want to watch out for December.
Tommy doesn't even know about all of us.
I should probably tell you about it at some point. You're going to love it, Tommy. This is a great choice. You're going to love the person we have.
I'm on the edge of my seat, Mike, as always with these things.
So, I'm going to go with now this is something that Microsoft did not build, but they adopted. Okay. So for me, I agree with you, Tommy. Lakehouse is extremely important. It's a feature that is very well used. It adds a lot of flexibility. And there's this whole mentality of, when I started doing my data science, my master's in data science, I learned about Lakehouse, Delta formatted tables, the idea of splitting the compute and the storage systems apart and using them differently. That was, to me, was the revolutionary moment that I saw happening, which was like, okay, typically everything was on a SQL server. The storage and the compute was in the same machine. You paid for all of it together. And then Spark came out and kind of separated the two. And so Microsoft has done a huge amount of improvements around them communicating with this Lakehouse format. Now, I think the trick or the secret sauce here is Delta. So
Delta is your level 2?
Delta is on my level 2.
Okay,
so
I like that.
Let me give you some reasoning why. So like this, it pairs well with the Lakehouse because Delta is part of that, right? You're storing tables down into the Lakehouse format. The Delta format is also evolving. So Databricks has also updated the Delta format to also handle Iceberg. So now you have this Delta format that's like a universal format, like whether it's Hootie, whether it's Iceberg, whether it's Delta, the format of that storage file system thing is now being adapted so that any tool can read these different schemas all together, which is awesome. But then think about all the other things we're doing, Tommy. Like we have SQL databases, we have data warehouses, we have semantic models, we have Direct Lake. All these features kind of hinge on the fact that Delta exists. So to me, there's a core functionality that has shifted when Microsoft said, we are going to adopt the Delta format as the Lakehouse format for tables. And so this allows them to do like all these other improvements, the Velox engine, the Gluten engine. These are other engines that Microsoft is building to make it faster and more efficient to read and write data from this Delta formatted area. The format of Delta is the same. It's consistent. It does not change. Multiple tools can use it, but they're implementing them slightly differently. So the fact that I have, before, Tommy, it was like if I was getting data in from a Dataflow Gen 1, I was making CSV files and they sat in the lake. Not really the most ideal solution. However, now we've got Dataflows Gen 2, notebooks, pipelines, data warehouses, like all of the tools, all of the different compute engines that Microsoft has built, at some level, they're all reading and writing the Delta format. So to me, it's understanding what's in Delta format and how do you use that to your advantage to insert or update. So it plays really good on the data engineering side as a core technology that they've implemented, but then you need to understand how it works across all the different tools because now you can leverage it in multiple places. And I will say this, Delta format is incredibly powerful. The one thing that I feel like it's a little bit weak on, where I would start leaning more towards the warehouse side, again, even I believe warehouses are actually still doing some form of like different version of Delta anyways, but when you have quick transactions or updating records quickly and you need that immediate answer, like it needs to be updated and you need one row of data very quick, to me that feels more like the data warehouse or the SQL side of the world inside Fabric. And I've had some projects where we tried to solve that, like logging or real-time logging with, not real-time, but like close to real-time logging inside the Delta format, and it just wasn't as efficient, and it was a little bit more work to make it seamless. So I found like in those situations, it would have been probably just better to stand up a SQL database or the SQL data warehouse and just do all the transactional information there a little bit more, and then having that automatically mirror down for reporting. So all this to say is one of my number two is the integration of the Delta format into all of the compute projects across all of Fabric. That's very important to know.
All right. So no, honestly, I completely see that. And I think, from the conversation with Brad, the fact that it's cross-platform or cross-feature in Fabric, that it's not just the Lakehouse. So I love that. So what's your second one?
So my second one might be a bit controversial here. So I think we're doing, if you think about all of the data engineering and the shaping and the modeling, and we're talking about some very core pieces here of how to consume things. I'm going to phrase it one way, but then kind of come back to the feature. I think the ability to articulate data as information, the ability to articulate these tables of data into visuals and graphically show a story or an interactive app around the data is so important. So I'm going to say, I don't love all the things that are coming out from the report side, but I mean, I'm going to say reports or that side of things. But it's more about like, I'm going to say reports, but the most essential skill is how do you visually communicate data? And we've talked about this a lot at length on the podcast, Tommy, which is when I'm building reports, I'm speaking to you through visuals. We're communicating through a different medium than other than using words. So the language of how you communicate via data, that's the part that I think is important here. And it happens to be right now, the main medium of doing that is going to be in reports. That's the main part we're doing right now. So It may change in the future. There may be other opportunities moving on here. I'm actively working on making that medium bigger than just reports, so stay tuned. There's things coming from Power BI Tips and the Tips Plus ecosystem that are going to be really useful here, I think, in this community. And also, I'm very vested in this. We have Power Designer. We have the fastest way to build a styled report, period. Like, there's no other tool on the market that can do this as fast or as cheap as we can. So if you're not using workloads today, workloads are going to change how you do things inside Power BI. And our workload called Power Designer is a game changer. It's super fast. You can stylize a bunch of things. We're adding new features every week. We're trying to really improve the product to make it super easy to use. I don't have to spend a ton of time building a report anymore. I can spend a day or two stylizing a report and just now reuse it over and over and over again. That is going to be very important for people to get consistent, good-looking reports out, because everyone can build. I'll say this. A lot of people are coming from Excel. They understand shaping and manipulating data. Not everyone has the eye for design. And so there's a handful of people in the community that are really good at design. They may not be great at shaping data. One I will say is Miguel Myers from Microsoft. He's amazing at making beautiful looking reports. But if you look at any one of his reports and the data model, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, this is a horrible data model that supports this beautiful report. So there has to be this balance between like a good looking report and not a nasty looking semantic model. So I feel like they're two different skills that need to be kind of brought together somewhat at some degree.
You know what? I don't think that's a hot take, because for what it's worth, this is my first choice on my level 3, Mike, is reports, because
We're close.
Yeah. So it's not too far off. And so I want to completely go on with this too, because how we communicate our data is the same way. And I had this aha moment years ago on as I was building reports of the approach I took, because you say this, you said the words like, oh, a good looking report, according to who? And I think this was an aha moment.
It's not good enough to me.
Okay, sure. But I've said this a ton of times on the podcast, and I say it to clients too. There's no such thing as a perfect report, because it's going to be based on the audience and who's looking at it. And the aha moment I had when I came to communicating data, Mike, was the way I word something in an email is going to shift what your behavior is going to be. Now, I can send you a message on Teams about who our next guest is going to be or what we're going to talk about, and I could do it multiple ways. Depending on how I word it is going to really dictate your reaction to it. And reports are the same, but just with data. How do I word a sentence is the same way as how do I word and visualize the data. This is something I'll tell you, I struggled with in the beginning with Power BI on how I communicated. I thought I was doing a good job, but it wasn't getting the right point across, or more importantly, getting the right information and context across to people. So even if I was the best semantic model builder in the world and I got achieved in crowns and, badges, whatever, it doesn't matter diddly if I can't build a report and I cannot communicate that. So I wanted to put this in level 2. It was a tough choice.
Yeah.
But honestly, like I said, I'm seeing lake houses more, but no, for me, this is the first thing off the board for level 3, because this is to your point, there is no better way right now for someone to consume, understand, and talk without a report from an organization point of view. We have metric sets. We have other things. Actually, that's one of the things I'm talking about in Orlando coming up. So stay tuned. But it's still, reports are going to be at the end of the day where people go. So I love that. So let's dive into level 3. Speaking of, since we're already kind of shifting into that, I had reports. That was one of the first ones I had.
Sure.
So, and the other 2 were actually notebooks and apps. So I had to put notebooks up there, and it's crazy. I don't think if it was for you, notebooks would be as high for me, because I was like, we have data flows, and I have to, now get into this new workflow, but it's Power BI. What are we doing? Azure Data Factory here. Yeah, we are. But at this end of the day, the amount that this is now the primary tool for my data ETL, and the fact that we also have AI, so we could put AI in there too, but the adoption for the personal developer to use notebooks, there's no excuse, because you take it from me, who's again, not the smartest cookie in the jar, but utilizing and understanding that I can simply take what I'm trying to do, feed this to AI, learn. The only thing I'm good at is learning. I learned how to learn. And what notebooks now, it's like, this is just an essential part of what I do. If they took away notebooks today, I would be wrecked, because it's such an important part of the data integration side, especially if I have notebooks or lake houses as my level 2, I need notebooks on my level 3. And then the last one I had there was apps, because to your point, the communication side is so important. And if I build the best report and everyone says it looks great, but no one knows how to get it to it, and maybe I put this because of my own experience, and I probably did, I've been burned by not being able to get people to a report or to the right data, because it can be overwhelming for people. So it's so essential. This is why also, Mike, I always focus on the adoption whenever I talk to anyone, is what does your adoption look like for Power BI? I care that you have good developers, but I care just as much that you have a process and an approach to getting the data to the people the right way. So reports, notebooks, and apps are my level 3.
Interesting you go down the apps. I didn't think about apps that way, but I think that's a really interesting option for level 3 here. So I'm going to agree 100% with you on the notebook side. I think notebooks are a very code-centric way. So when I look at notebooks, there's two things I think about notebooks. In one direction of notebooks, I'm thinking about notebooks are good for data engineering, shaping data, doing things. Notebooks are also very good at tooling, right? So notebooks provide the ability for us to build many tools that I can use on top of models, right? I want to go get a bunch of data from the admin portal. I want to go get a bunch of data and scrape it out and put it somewhere. Notebooks are good about, I want to use a notebook and create a report from scratch. Now that PBIP format exists, we just did a project where we were able to then build a report grammar around report building. And then from that, we were able to then read that input spec file and generate reports. And so this unblocks the ability for you to make 30, 50, 100 page reports with just a click of a button, right? So you can just program it and it just goes. So you're removing all the clicks and it becomes really consistent to build things, right? That's massive. I mean, that's a huge win. So the fact that Notebook can build tools that enable you to operate faster is a huge improvement there. So I love notebooks. I'm going to disagree with some of your other ones here, Tommy. I'm going to pitch down some ones here that I think are slightly different. I'm going to say Copilot, but I'm going to say Copilot in lieu of code, not Copilot to do reports. Right? So I don't really like Copilot to tell me how to build reports or other things that Copilot produces. However, Copilot's really good at writing SQL. Copilot's really good at writing Python. I almost have little to no fear building anything in a notebook now because I have Copilot at my side. Like that, to me, I know enough about what the notebook should be doing and what the data engineering should be doing. I can describe to the function, I have this data coming in. I need you to build a regular expression, a regex on this thing. I can describe it to the AI and it spits out an answer really good. So there comes a point where I could probably figure it out, but I don't want to take the time to. I'd rather just take the time and write this in. So it's one of these balance of value to time investments, right? The investment of time for me to go speak to the AI or the Copilot to help me build the code function, right? I need a Python function that does something. I'll just ask Python to do it. I mean, ask the Copilot to do it and just does it. Yeah. So is Copilot as code deeply integrated into the tools? No, not quite yet. Where's Copilot in my DAX window in desktop, right? There's no Copilot there that I should be writing DAX in there and Copilot should be helping me writing DAX right inside the DAX window in desktop. Like that should be a thing. Copilot inside notebooks is kind of clunky. It doesn't quite work as well. But when I use Copilot inside VS Code, very happy. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times I'll take code out and go right to VS Code and I'll use Copilot things over there. So what I guess I would say is the VS Code experience in Copilots is dialed. They know what they're doing.
100%.
I hope the Microsoft Power BI and experiences teams are leaning on what's coming out of VS Code and just borrowing and just bring it over. Just literally take what's coming from there, bring in the agent mode, bring in all like there's already a dedicated team around making amazing code and doing things in VS Code. Just lift that experience to notebooks. Just lift that experience to my SQL analytics endpoint or my SQL data warehouse. Like that's what I want. So for me, I'm looking at the Copilot code experience. I think is my number 3. It makes me more effective, and I don't need to spend as much time learning all the little intricacies. I can just let it do its thing, and then I can read the code and correct it afterwards. This is one area here, Tommy, that I think I'm going to be a bit more visionary on this one. My last one for number 3, I'm going to say is an underrated feature for organizations. I'm going to also preface this with some observations.
I am really intrigued to hear this.
Embedding your reports. Now, yours was apps. Yours was apps, Tommy. And I totally agree with you. Apps is very important, right? But apps only works in the context of your organization. I think I look at this a little bit bigger and going, look, we've already built. Let's go back to the first 2 layers of our pyramid. We've already built these rich semantic models. We already have good looking reports. We're already using this super cool structure called Delta. How do we maximize the leverage of all those things that we've been building? To me, you can embed things in Teams. You can embed things in SharePoint. You can embed things in a custom application. Embedding gets your reports out to not only your internal team better, I also think reports give it better to your external team better. And the more I use PowerBI.com, the more I start thinking to myself, it's too busy. There's so many things to click on. PowerBI.com is wonderful. I really, really like it. But when you add all of Fabric and all of Power BI, PowerBI.com is a cluttered mess of just a million tools. People don't know where to put the data. They don't know how to go get the reports. And there's a huge audience of people that just say, I just need to get to the report and open it up. I just need to get to the report, copy it, and make a slight change. And I need to see that data every single day, every single week. That's what I need, right? So there's this idea of like simplifying the output. And I think embedding does that. And again, I'm heavily invested in this area. I think this is a major win. I'm so invested in it. Yeah. I've made an entire product around helping companies accelerate their need to get to embedding. There's a lot of capability there. So we've built a product called Intangibles. You can go get it on the Azure Marketplace. You can download it. It helps you start from like embedding projects typically take companies anywhere between 6 to 9 months to kind of build the project. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's awful, Michael. Why would you recommend that? That's because I already have a solution that gets you started in an hour. So you can go download the product today. And so if you know what you're doing, it's very easy to deliver lots of results very easily and quickly with an embedded project. And so Microsoft, my company is one of like 5 partners. We're part of the Microsoft Partner Showcase around embedded accelerators.
Yeah.
So to me, I think this is like, let's think about, okay, my company's 1,000 people. Okay, you could use embedding there first. But how many customers do you serve? What kind of apps do you build? How do you make customers sticky to your organization by giving them data? And to me, that's where, like, if you're really trying to talk impact to your organization, embedding is where it's at. You don't need to have developers going out and building new visuals and interactive visuals across each other. I mean, even now I look at Databricks, reporting their AI BI dashboards. It's not that great. I mean, yes, they have a much better calendar selector, but none of the visuals interact with each other. They don't cross talk. And it's just not nearly as good of an experience. I've done Looker. Not really happy about it.
No.
I've played with Tableau, extremely flexible, but the learning curve is super steep. So these other, I just really like this idea of being able to say, look, how do you make your customers absolutely love you? You give them good data and you give them an easy way to get embedding. And that's what I think I've tried to develop, is this really rich experience around embedding things. So that would be my last one for level 3 is I'm now not only focusing internal to my company, I'm focusing what is the impact external to my company that I can really impact largely with embedding.
And most people, when thinking embedding too, because of the barrier to entry, it is not something for the faint of heart to try to get into. But no, the fact I messaged you a few weeks ago because I was talking to someone and they're like, oh, it's such a process. I'm like, no, you can just go to the app
Yes.
store and just get them. Like, wait, what? And the
Mhm.
concept's still weird too. So no, I really like. It is very common when we're talking about apps is getting the data to the user. So all right, so you had notebooks, Copilot, which I'm
Co-
gonna
oh,
count it. I know,
code,
but
code, Copilot.
I
I'm
know,
gonna be
but
very
you're also talking VS
only the
Code,
code
which I
part.
don't know if it's a Fabric feature. It's something I use in Fabric, so but we'll count it, kind of thing, because and then we have embedding. All right, I know we're getting near time, so what I would like to do, Mike, if you have a level 4, I want to see if we have any that cross over, and then we can call it a day because
I
I'm
don't
having a
have
blast.
any at level 4. I ran
Okay,
out at level 3.
all right. Let me see if you would agree with any of these, and then we'll go from there. So for my level 4, and then we'll call it a day. We need to do this again. This is a blast. So I had pipelines, and also before actually you get in, I'm surprised after we talked about Tindle that Tindle didn't make your first 3 levels, and maybe it's just because the other things are so essential. But
I
still,
mean,
regardless, it's
do I push that? Like,
you
I would
push
argue it's
Tindle,
probably
yeah,
I
or
could probably push PBIP and Tindle. I think those are 2 game
listen,
changers, but like those are heavy developer. Like I'm trying to think about like large impact things that
sure,
make a big difference to a wider like they're developers.
yeah.
They love this.
Also, I didn't hear anything about you editing a model in the browser in your top 3 either.
It's
So
a given now. Like
I
it's
know
not this really it's
the feature. So let's see if you agree with any of these. I had pipelines, I had Tyndall, I had drill through. So pipelines, because I'm using pipelines more and more. I love the user interface and what you can do. You don't have to scale like you did in Data Factory and have to know all the know-how to use it, and still you can get a lot done. Tyndall,
yeah.
because like I said, you've kind of got me on board with that. I have drill through because let's just go to the reporting side of things. It's a feature that I apply in every report. If I build a report, I have drill through in some capacity. And the last one, it was a more developer, and I was like, do I do XMLA? Do I do API? I actually stuck with VS Code, the integration that they have with the extensions, because
That's
it
not a feature in
how
Fabric.
is it not? Okay, how is it not? Because
It's you're
they're
saying VS
Microsoft.
Code is your favorite. I
The VS
understand, but
Code.
VS
Hold on,
Code,
no, no, no,
no,
no.
I'm not going to count
Hold
it.
on. Okay,
If you're not counting my
I did.
Copilot, I'm not
Yours
counting you.
is GitHub Copilot that I'm using with Fabric. I'm telling you the VS Code extensions. Okay,
All
the
right, all
extensions that
right.
Microsoft created. If they write a
I'll
blog
let it
and
slide. I'll
you'll
let
let
it
it slide,
slide.
they're writing blogs saying we've now released 4 extensions for Fabric that you can use, and that's Gerald's extension as well.
Why on
So
earth do I need 4 extensions? Just make one good one. Like, stop it. Like
because I
that's
have 130 extensions, I want more, kind of thing.
I don't need more
So,
extensions. Build one good one that I can use with everything. It should work with all of it. Like I don't
but
need. It
okay,
should be the Fabric extension,
even the
like
Fabric,
Gerhard's
yeah, the
extension. It's just
studio
one that
one.
you use. I
So,
get it.
but I use that. So I use the integration.
What's your
We'll call it integration, call it an API. I don't care. But the integration there, I use so much and more too. And the things that I can edit, go through, and that I'm not in the service is pretty incredible, Mike. So again, Microsoft built. So oh, and Timtal is also an extension as well. So speaking of all these extensions. So
yes?
but honestly, but I drill through in pipelines. I didn't think we're gonna get to my level
Drill
4,
through.
but yeah,
Okay.
is a big part. So that's what I got, Mike.
I like your level 4 things. The only thing I would maybe add to mine if I had a level 4, I would probably maybe drop VS Code because I think it's cheating. But okay, I would not pick drill through. I would definitely tick the PBIP format is something that's immensely powerful. But again, the further I go down this pyramid, I start looking at more like pro developer level features.
That's what
It's not
happened to
like
me.
general audience. I started getting like very
Yeah.
technical with a lot of the things that was like what makes my life easier day to day, and it's those things. The one I would ditch. I would agree with you on pipelines. I think pipelines is very pivotal for what we're doing. Very useful. There's a lot of new data engineering things that are coming out. I really am hopeful for copy job. Seems like that's really interesting. I think that could solve a lot of problems. Mirroring right now for me is really hot. I'm really liking a lot of mirroring. I'm doing a lot of that between Databricks and Fabric, and like getting shortcuts. To me, is becoming like a really interesting
that's a
feature set. So for me, shortcuts would be probably on that 4th level. I'm definitely going to I'm going to smash two together because I want 5 items in my number 4 level. So I'm going to say
But I
tindle
can't do VS
PBIP.
Code.
I'm going to say tindle PBIP is like the things that I would agree with.
That's fair.
And then there was one more I had here. It was pipelines. Makes sense. Tindle PBIP. Shoot, what was the other one I just said now? I'm losing track of stuff.
You said PBIP Tindle, which is one.
Mirroring, I think, or shortcuts / mirroring. Yeah. I think that's something that's going to be.
So your level 4 has 6.
6. Well, I don't know. Some mirroring is shortcuts. Other mirroring is actually copying data. So to me, it's confusing. Like, is mirroring actually a mirrored item? Like if you're doing SQL database, it's actually copying the data. But if I do a mirror to a Databricks, it's like not copying the data. It's like a shortcut. So like I don't really know what it is. So it's confusing. So I want to say, because I don't understand the feature or why there's what the delineation of it is. I mean, it should be Databricks shortcuts to Unity Catalog, but they call it mirroring, but it's not. It's not whatever. So anyways, those are the 3 that I have there. There was one more that I thought was really impactful, and it's escaping me. I'll have to send it out over tweet if I can get it later. Anyways, I think those are some good things to understand and know is that at that level 4 tier. We're getting very technical by this level. I feel like this is becoming more pro developer level things. Oh, I remember what it is now. Good thing I stalled for a second. I'm going to call it, this is going to be weird, Tommy, because it's going to be kind of a bucket item, but this is still forming. It's the MCP land. Right?
MCP is going to be your level 4.
Is in level. So there's already 2 MCPs out, I believe. I believe there's one for semantic models and there's one for Spark data engineering. So 2 MCPs are already existing today. And I believe if I look at the landscape of what Microsoft is doing, it's easy for them to build the MCP server and let you use that against their existing tooling, because it bridges the gap of pick whatever large language model you want to use, and then here's the list of APIs it can go talk to, and then it can go do things. So like the MCP land is a bridging the gap between just talking to something and then having it do the agents doing things for you. So I think that's going to be a from a pro developer side of things, I think it's going to be a big win long term. So I had to put that there as level 4. It's just something that's going to be, we need to stay mindful of it. It's going to make it be very impactful at some point.
Interesting. So for me, that's a trending, but I because it's not, I agree in terms of it's going to be there. It's not there for me too. But so, okay, for level 4, you either got 3 or 5 you're picking. So shortcuts, mirroring, Tindle. Those are interesting. I'll make a few notes here and then we'll call it a day. So I went through level 6, and I'm sad to say that Power Query just made it into level 6. And I never thought I would say that a year ago. I love Power Query. I use it extensively, but I couldn't rank it higher. Things I ranked higher than Power Query here are data agents, APIs, XMLA, workspaces, bookmarks, SQL endpoint, metric sets. Those are all higher to me to Power Query. So, man, we're looking near the end of Power Query, what it is.
Well, I think I would have said that last week, Tommy. After going to the Microsoft Fabric conference in Vienna, I think Power Query has turned a corner. I think the team has listened to the community. It's not going to be as expensive to run. It's going to be easier to use. I mean, I'm looking at I don't know what the number is now, 30 million, like Microsoft in their March call said there was 30 million monthly active users. This is back in March. So I'm guessing now it's up even higher than that, maybe 40, 45 million, right? I'm just projecting numbers here, right? So let's say you're at 45 million monthly active users in Power BI. Awesome. Love it. Well, if that is the audience size we're talking about, those people are going to be comfortable using desktop, getting Power Query, using the Power Query experience. Data Flows Gen 2 will be right up their alley. So if you want those people to come over, make the cost a bit more effective on getting it to run. And I think, Tommy, after we do some testing, which we should definitely do, we need to have a revisit on this one. We need to have an episode at some point is, revisiting and giving Data Flows some love.
We'll use your tenant then.
Because I think, we'll use your tenant. I think we have another opportunity to revisit the Data Flows Gen 2 now with the parallel processing and the faster running time and the new compute engines. Like, I think there's a lot of under the hood challenges that they needed to fix. And I think once that's done, I think now that they've fixed these things, I think now we can step back and take a revisit on them because we've been harping on it for so long. The team has finally listened and it's made some changes.
We got to do our part.
We got to do our part, and we got to go back and say, okay, look, they've made some what they're calling really big improvements. Let's go back and take another look at this one. I think we owe it. Again, that was both you and I. The first thing we did to get into Power BI and Excel was Power Query. Like that was what brought us over to this space. Like this is game changer. So I think now we're finally getting to a place where it's competing with the scale and the size of Spark and other things in notebooks. It's going to be more competitive there. So I want to take a revisit on that one. I want to go back to that and look at that again. And moving there, King also in the chat here says people are coming from Alteryx and desktop, and was talking about data engineering and pipeline making in the desktop era. I would also argue Alteryx and Talend are the two like desktop applications you do for data engineering, and I think those are all just going to be gone in a couple of years. It's just going to be all Fabric and things in the cloud, and I don't think any longer you're going to want to pay for licenses to have machines on your computer running. So, anyways,
100%. Dude, I love it.
That being said, this is a long episode. Thank you all for participating and listening and hanging out for us today. We had a lot of things to talk about today. Really appreciate the discussion here. Chat has been very active today, so thank you very much for chat, people. If you want to become a member, if you like this episode and you want to watch these with no ads, if you didn't catch it in real time, feel free to go become a member. We'd love you to become a member of our channel. It helps support us. It helps do things here and improve the quality of our episodes and our content here as well. We really, really appreciate you, the community. We do this because we love this space and we really enjoy the people here that make it so fun. That being said, Tommy, where else can you find the podcast?
You can find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to subscribe and leave a rating, please. It really does help us out a ton. And share with a friend. Share the news. We do this for free. Do you have a question, idea, or topic that you want us to talk about? There's something you disagreed with the feature pyramid, or did we miss? Head over to powerbi.tips/podcast. Leave your name. Please leave your name so we can mention you. A lot of people don't do that. And a great question. And finally, join us live every Tuesday and Thursday, 7:30 a.m. Central, and join the conversation on all of powerbi.tips social media channels.
Awesome. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next week.